of inclusion, and it is something that I want to do. And in fact, because of that experience and others, one of the things that I'm working to accomplish is, number one, I'm going to create an international advisory to the Sheriff's Office. Secondly, I am challenging the international community to offer to me opportunities where my deputies can interact with the community and get to know each other, instead of letting an incident like that occur, and then you have to spend time not just getting to know each other, but trusting each other. And so it is, you know, some folks took it well, like you. Some folks are still seeing people that look different through a certain set of eyeglasses, and we're going to be challenged with that for a long time.
That was leading me to my second question. You've had some critics, like Tommy Thompson, about the 8 deputies that were cross-trained with ICE regarding the program that is currently in place at the county. Only reason I know about it, this is a pilot program that started 10 years ago and it's now developed. And I was initially one of the officers that helped when I was with ICE myself. But recently there's been some concern with the Harris County Commissioner's Court regarding this program. Do you foresee this continuing, or do you see a challenge?
No, you know, in fact, I have recently met with the Latin American Consular Corps, and they've had some concerns, and you know, one of the concerns that they had was, are we screening just people that look from a particular country, or are we screening everybody? So my first question was, how are we doing it? We are screening everybody.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's my point.
Yep.
The initial program, everyone was screened.
Yep. Yep.
And some of the critics, again, like I said, this was 10 years ago when I was at the program. There were some critics that saying that they were only targeting Latinos.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure that practice was happening.
You know, there's been places where you know, implementing that program was not done the right way. There's been some places where there's been some problems. I have reviewed the program. I've met with ICE, and I met with the Latin American Consular Corps, and I have invited them to come tour the facility and to witness the process, so that they themselves can feel comfortable. But you know, but the other side of it too is that alongside this issue is that we have to remind the deputies that if someone's willing to victimize a person who might end up being an immigrant, then they're willing to victimize anybody else. And so we have to make sure that the way we do our business fosters trust, and that it encourages communication, that we encourage people to report things, so that we can make sure that we're going after the right people. And so I have, and look, regrettably, you know, I think that, you know, 99% of the immigrant community is, and there are studies that indicate that immigrants tend to be more law-abiding because it's much better than what they had here. And so we need to make sure that we do not let hate drive our policies. We got to make sure that when we do policies that are controversial, that we shouldn't hide from controversy, but we should make sure that the policies are sound and that the practices are sound, and that if people want to scrutinize the process, we should welcome it.
Exactly.
Yes?
We have a mayor's race coming up. In your opinion, is there a potential Hispanic candidate that's elected? How do you want to speak?
You know, I think there are several Hispanic individuals that could become candidates in this race. The challenge, I think, for some folks may be the fact that you don't necessarily measure a mayor's campaign in votes, but you measure it not just in dollars, but in millions of dollars. And so the question, it really ends up becoming that to be involved in the political process, you have to be able to raise money. And that becomes a deterrent for some folks. It was a question, a concern I had when I got into my race. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be able to raise enough money to get my message out. And so that is something that regretfully is a part of the political process. The other thing too is that people, whoever is running right now, they're running into this race, or at minimum should be running into this race with both eyes wide open, meaning that we are facing a tough economic downturn, and it will be, this will not be the fun times to be mayor, okay? And so whoever decides ultimately to get into this race needs to make sure they're doing it for the right reasons. And so I think that ends up deciding a lot of things in terms of how to evaluate some candidates. But I think principally speaking that there are viable Latino candidates. I think people that I think could serve this city well. The question ends up becoming whether they can effectively participate, not be good candidates, but effectively participate in the electoral process by virtue of fundraising. That's the big challenge. Let me get this young lady right here.
We've seen, I think this year, a layoff in education for teachers. Are you seeing the same situation because of the economy with layoffs of police officers? And do you see with Obama, having this vision to create jobs, some of those monies or finances being applied to police departments because maybe it'll counteract the crime that may be occurring, because people don't have jobs?
Yep. Good perspective. First of all, I just came back from Washington, D.C. last week. And I was there for a national sheriff's conference. But while I was there, I worked hard to visit with our congressional delegation. I visited with a representative of this area, which I believe Ted Poe represents this area. And he's a dear friend. I visited with him. I visited with Culberson. I visited with Senator Cornyn. I visited with Gene Green. I visited with Al Green to